Get ready for the ultimate comic book extravaganza. Terrificon is back at Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut from July 28th to the 30th. Over 100 comic book creators, tons of celebrities, and hundreds of vendors all under one roof. Meet your favorite comic book writers and artists, mingle with celebrities from movies and TV, and explore a treasure trove of comics and collectibles. Terrificon, where dreams come true for comic book fans. Don't miss out July 28th to 30th at Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut. Get your tickets now at Terrificon.com. Terrificon, the ultimate comic book experience.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Stuntress here. I've got part 2 of my conversation with Louise and Walter Simonson coming up, but I should mention that Gary, one of the League of Word Balloon listeners, pointed out, and I already knew this, that Stitcher is going away. And listen, Stitcher only makes up about 2% of the Word Balloon audience, but it is a fair thing to say, hey, if you're really not, some people stick with one podcast platform and are like, well, I don't know where to go now. So what do I do? And it's like good news because, listen, Word Balloon is all over the place. Apple Podcast, Overcast, Podcast Addict, Spotify, of course, Stitcher while it lasts, a few more days, iTunes, Pocket Casts, Podbean, Downcast, Cashbox, Google Podcasts, Player FM, Podcast Republic, of course, Spreaker, my home platform, Feedly, RSS Radio. Do you get it? I mean, literally, so many other platforms. So I'd be shocked, to be honest, if you find a podcast platform and Word Balloon isn't on it. So if you're a Stitcher person, there are plenty of other places to download Word Balloon, okay? Okay. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the conversation with Louise and Walter Simonson. We're about to talk about cable and the creation of cable. But, man, I can't wait to see them. They're going to be at Terrificon in just a few weeks at Mohegan Sun Casino the last weekend in July. So looking forward to seeing them and seeing you if you happen to be at that convention as well. I really do. I just have such tremendous respect and admiration for both of the Simonsons. They're really amazing people and great creatives that are still making great things. So let's get back in just a second after these words to the conversation with Louise and Walter Simonson, part 2 on Word Balloon. Word Balloon is brought to you by AlexRossArt.com. Alex will be at San Diego Comic-Con in just a few weeks. His booth number is 2415. You can't miss the Alex Ross booth. Always this incredible gallery presentation of some of his most iconic covers and interiors, but also new stuff as well that you will likely see on your favorite comic covers in the months ahead. Make sure you check out AlexRossArt.com at San Diego Comic-Con, booth 2415. It's always very distinctly and gigantically located in the center of the action in San Diego on the main convention floor. Check it out or go online for AlexRossArt.com. Word Balloon is brought to you by my followers, the League of Word Balloon Listeners. That's the name I gave my followers through Patreon. Patreon.com/wordballoon. Listen, things are tough this year. I won't deny it for me. Financially, if you've ever considered supporting Word Balloon, I could really use your help. So if you think Word Balloon is worth the price of a comic book, even $1 a month would be greatly appreciated. Patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you very much for your patronage and your attention, the League of Word Balloon listeners. If you subscribe to Word Balloon, I will send you an email that will have a domino mask and cape and a nice League of Word Balloon listeners emblem that you've seen here on Word Balloon as well. But thank you for your support. Patreon.com/wordballoon. A lot of the work speaks for itself, Louise. Absolutely, man. No, seriously, and a character like Cable, and where Cable is now, and when it was created, and I'll even confess, I was not the biggest X reader, and certainly you had a lot of stories prior to even creating Cable, but I really loved your Superman, and that's really when and Power Pack as well, and it just seemed like Cable came from that really extreme kind of period of the 90s, and you are such a great character writer and stuff, and yeah, what was Was it weird, like writing that during that time? Was it? I don't even know. Again, you'll forgive me as a reader. It seemed incongruent to your kind of writing and characterization. I mean, you're still writing, obviously, so maybe again it was just the art that was overpowering me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Rob Rob Liefeld designed the character.
Yeah.
And he really did some pretty cool over-the-top designs for the characters that he created.
Yes.
And Cable certainly was that. I mean, he was like this big, big guy with, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't find it overwhelming in that same way to write. It was, relatively easy he was easy as a character to do once I had the motivation for the characters. I mean, that's where characters come from for me. It's like I don't envision them necessarily to start off with. I envision them as wants and needs and gots to have, what's driving them, what can't they get, what do they need and why can't they get it? So that I had that. And then, Rob he sent in a series of designs. And I think Cable, the guy he had drawn as Cable, was actually supposed to have been maybe Strife, one of the villains.
Okay.
But Harris and I both liked the look of him for the Cable character, for the new adult who would come in and whip the New Mutants into shape character. So he was chosen for that, and he turned out to be a pretty popular character, which is nice.
Yeah,
that's a good design for him.
Yeah, no.
Usually had a strong idea for who the character was from the beginning, before there was a visual for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Rob also wanted to ask for that name. He came up with the name Cable.
He wanted Cable,
and hey, fine. It wasn't like it was made him happy, and what the heck.
Yeah, honestly, for me, it isn't in the characters' names. It's like in their, I guess they're, again, like the soul of Superman. You've got this thing a hook that I hang a character on is more motivation for me than it is like the name or the way they look. But it really does help to have a great look to a character and a good name.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so have you been pleased watching Cable and Deadpool 2 and him come to life in the films?
I saw Deadpool 2, but it was on an airplane. But I don't think I hadn't gotten earphones for some reason. I think I was trying to work. So I would look up every once in a while and I would see him on the screen, but I couldn't tell what anybody was saying, but he looked good. He really did.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, I think of all the characters I've seen of mine that have appeared on the big screen, he really looked the best. Archangel looked really good in that Apocalypse movie. Apocalypse, not great, but Archangel looked really good. And the 2 seconds he was on the screen, you didn't see much of him. But the little bit you saw, he looked good.
He looked good.
Looked good.
I mean, the truth is, we haven't seen a lot of the superhero movies. We saw some of the early Marvels. Maybe I shouldn't be saying it. Well, I'm not working for Marvel or DC much these days. What do I care?
Yeah.
And the truth is, having spent almost 50 years living, eating, and breathing superheroes, I'm not at the stage where I desperately go out and see the next new movie. There are some good ones that we've missed for various reasons, one way or another. I keep hoping to catch up to them on cable. Eventually I will, or I'll sell them anyway. But we really, we haven't seen a lot of them.
Okay.
And, I'm at this point, I'm way outside the demographic that those movies are shooting for.
I understand.
So that back, if I were 25, I'd probably have seen every one, or 30. But I'm not that age anymore. So, yeah. I mean, I'm impressed with what they've done. I'm delighted they've done so well. But there are so many we have not seen that it would be hard to judge what they've done with them. really.
Okay. Well, you got
skills.
you got to play in, and weren't you both in Thor?
Yes, the very first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They flew us out to California.
Yeah.
And I have a nanosecond of screen time laughing like a loon next to Jamie Alexander at the banquet. And there was there had been some dialogue between the Warriors 3 that was kind of funny, but in the end it was cut out. It didn't make it the final cut, and so we're all laughing at a joke that I don't think is showing anywhere, isn't in the movie anyplace.
That's cool.
But it was a fascinating experience. I will say they were very nice to us. Kenneth Branagh, who directed it, and all the people on the set, all the folks. We didn't meet Anthony Hopkins because he wasn't. Well, he was there. Ralph Macchio and I were watching because Ralph's in there too. But he doesn't have any direct shots. He was my editor.
Yeah.
He's one of the Asgardians as well, and he's over the other side of the table near Louise. Yeah. And we were walking back to the office they had a disused office. They turned into our dressing room. I had our names on it, I think, even, which was very sweet. Yeah. And I had some disused furniture too, which was funny.
That's great.
We were in our Asgardian robes, we're elders, going back to the room, and it was an elevator ride. And we got to the elevator, and the door opened, and Anthony Hopkins is standing there in his Odin costume. Doesn't have his eye patch, but everything else. And we looked at him and and bowed and said, "My lord." And he smiled at us and walked down the hall. When we got in the elevator, that was my entire interaction with Anthony Hopkins. Natalie Portman was not there because they were not filming. They filmed the Earth scenes on Arizona, New Mexico, somewhere down that way.
Okay.
And so we didn't see that, didn't meet her, but met most of the rest of them. Tom Hiddleston was fabulous.
Cool.
He was Mr. Personality. I mean, they were all very nice. They were all very nice to us. But Tom began showing Louise and somebody else who was another girl, I think, another woman, Loki's fighting style, and demonstrating how he had worked out this whole thing with creating knives and firing them off. And it's in the movie for like a half second. But he had worked out this whole thing, and he was showing it. And it was very sweet. It was very, a lot of personality in that.
I really liked him.
So it was fun. So we were out there about 3 days. And the thing that amazed me, I probably shouldn't say this because it's going to screw it up for everybody else who comes after us, but it was I've forgotten the name of our principal minder. Oh, forgive me, because he was a really good guy. He's written a few X-Men comics.
Wow.
And I can't remember his name.
Not Zeb Wells.
I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'll move my mouth and you can loop it in later.
There you go.
Okay. And but he was very sweet. I mean, he was doing other stuff most of it. Several people kind of looking after us. And I went to him, but they were going to leave. And I said, we saw several scenes being filmed. The scene where they landed in Jotunheim, we watched being filmed. We got to see Odin's bed, which was being taken apart. They'd filmed that scene already. I got to lie on Odin's bed. I was lying on the plywood. The mattress was already gone. And we saw they were building Heimdall's spherical room. That was being built at the time. But I went to him and I said, we haven't signed any non-disclosure agreements. There hasn't been any paperwork so far. He said, "Oh, it's fine. You guys are family. Don't tell anybody." And we said, "Oh, okay." And of course, then you're on your honor in a way that you're not when you sign a piece of paper. And so what I did do was, I don't know, a year later, I dropped him a note and I said, we'd gotten a few photographs of ourselves in the costume, the full outfit, because we were at the table. We were sitting there. Yeah. I had a big metal belt on, and we actually had shoes. They had sewn leather shoes for us. So we got some photographs of Weezy, me, and Ralph in our costume in the dressing room. And so I wrote him and said, can I put these on Facebook? It's been like a year since the movie came out.
Sure.
He said, well, let me get back to you. And about a day later, he said, yeah, sure. So somewhere on my Facebook page, I guess probably in the photograph gallery, I'm not sure, mostly it's drawing galleries, somewhere on there's a picture of the three of us in our Asgardian robes. So it was a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, the food was great. There was the food they had behind the set.
Craft services, yeah.
The banquet. The banquet food was all organic.
Nice.
It was fabulous. So it was, pardon?
You had these gauntlets on. Remember the huge gauntlets?
I did.
We had these giant forks and knives that we were supposed to be eating with. the gauntlets were so large that on your costume, that you couldn't bend your arm.
I couldn't bend my arm back to my mouth. They were leather, and they ran from my wrist all the way back, and they had a kind of a diamond-shaped cut here. And so I couldn't bend my wrist more than about this, really, without it hurting. And one of the assistant guys came over during the shooting, and said, try and eat something. And I'm going, well, I'll try, but I'm not sure what I can do. But they did have grapes. And also the silver cutlery was this giant cutlery. And of course, I looked like this as an Asgardian, because I had more hair. Asgardians don't wear glasses.
Yes.
So I didn't have any glasses. So I couldn't see anything. Because I'm terribly nearsighted. And so I was really afraid if I tried using one of these knives and forks, I was going to cut myself. And I thought, I don't want to do that. So I ate a couple of the grapes, and that was okay. And between the scene at some point, there was a break at some point, changing a setup, I guess. And Ray Stevens was there, played Volstagg.
Okay,
we were chatting for a bit. They were all really nice to us.
Really nice.
And the woman who played Odin's wife, Frigga.
Oh yeah, it's Renee Russo. Yeah,
Renee Russo came over, and we were talking.
Wow.
I was talking about this, about eating, and Ray laughed and he said, "Yeah," he says, his very first movie, apparently, the first scene involved eating, and he didn't know enough, and so he just ate. Well, they reshot it like 1,000,000 times, and he said by the time that he was ready to explode. He said, so you learn to fake it. You don't really eat. So I ate grapes by chewing my tongue. Well, I'll have a grape. I palmed it in my hand and ate my grapes that way. So I got a tip from one of the masters on what I should be doing.
Oh, man.
It was really enjoyable. It was really, it did, I know this is not true all the time, but it did making movies look like it would be fun. Mm-hmm. And the woman who was the vocal coach, a little younger than we are, but not a lot, we talked to her for a bit on the side. She was very friendly, and we just had a nice chat with her. And her assessment of a set in general, was the fish rots from the head down. And Kenneth Branagh set a really good tone for that set. And I think that's, the idea was that it really made it an enjoyable place to be, an enjoyable place to work. And that was a lot of fun. So then one other quick story from that. One of the PAs we talked to, his father was a carpenter. I've forgotten his name now. But his father, but not for the movies. And he came by, I was watching once on the set, and they were filming, and there were all these people standing around. And he started grasping, all these people standing around making money, and nobody's doing anything. And his son, he said, well, here's how that works. How that works is they all have some specific job. And when they're filming, the moment will come when they have to do whatever they have to do. Pull the rope, do this, do that, so that everything will continue on smoothly and the illusion will continue. And if they don't do it, it'll screw it up, and they'll have to do all this stuff all over again. So it's not like they're really doing nothing, but they have these things they have to do just at the right moment to get stuff to work. And it was neat. It was very educational. It was a lot of fun to be there, and they were very sweet to us.
That's amazing. And, talking to Bendis and Quesada about the preparation for Thor, they said Branagh really was one of the directors in particular that really leaned in on the Marvel panel and really wanted to do it right. And give it justice. So that's cool.
He was very cool. He introduced us. We were sitting at the table, and the table had all extras on the far side. So when you see the banquet scene, it's the backs of their heads. And then we're sitting on the other side. The Warriors 3 in the middle. Fandor was on my side. So you're facing it. I'm on the left as you're facing it. So he was the end Warriors 3. Then there was a young woman who was very pretty who was an extra. Then there was me. Then there was Jamie Alexander. On the other side, Hogan was in the middle. Volstagg was on the right side. You were next to Volstagg, weren't you, Louise? Or were you next to the executive? I can't remember.
I was next to Volstagg. On one side, and the executive was next to me.
There was an executive from Marvel. We met. I don't remember his name. He got to be in it for being an executive, so he was there. And Ralph, I think, was beyond him. I don't know if anybody was beyond Ralph. I was the other side of the table. But we were, before the scene began, before they began filming it, Ken, like I know him, but Ken had us stand up and introduced me and Wheezy and Ralph and explained why we were there and what our significance was to the movie.
Yeah.
Which was very sweet and not at all required. So, but later, at some point, he was coming over. I talked to him a little bit. He came over, he was talking to Jamie about something he wanted to do when they were filming. And it was some really good character stuff. Really smart understanding of character and of stuff. And as he stood up to walk up, I said, you should be writing comic books.
Ha!
And he cracked up. He thought that was pretty funny. So I was good. I thought I made Kenneth Branagh laugh. I'm good.
I'm a big fan.
He also made sure that I think all of the principals had copies of the
yes,
of the Thor comics. Certainly your Thor comics.
Of my run, they were handed out to everybody. Apparently,
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
people know what they were doing.
Well, the other thing I did do, I didn't tell you by the time I was under contract with DC, so I didn't mention this. Now they probably can't nail me, but people were so nice to us that I went up to this gentleman whose name I cannot remember, and at the end, or toward the end, I said, we interacted with hairdressers and makeup people and some of the actors, some of them, and some of the PAs, the woman that was doing the writing. What's that, hon?
Costume designers.
Oh, that's right. The woman who did Gladiator, I think, helped get our costumes put together. I mean, I had them ready for us. They'd taken our sizes before we went out there. And so I went to him and I said, was it Greg? Maybe I'm going to say Greg, but I hope I'm not wrong. But I went to him and I said, can I get a list of the names of all the people we've interacted with? He said, sure. This is the advantage of being one of the bosses. You can send your PA out to do your bidding. And I said, what I want to do is when I get home, I'm going to do a small head drawing for all the people we dealt with. So
that's great.
Within an hour, the PA came up. I had a list of all 35 people, and it was all the people we dealt with, including the PAs, everybody. And he gave it to me a printout of it, and he said, I've sent a PDF to your email. And there was some other third one, I don't know what it was. He maybe just emailed the list in some way. So I had 3 different lists in different places I could find. And so when I came home, I did little head sketches, maybe so big, maybe 6 by 9.
Okay. And
I didn't try and draw the characters. I didn't draw Chris as Thor or Tom as Loki. And I didn't do one for Anthony Hopkins. I really never met him, so Anthony didn't get one of these. But I sent a drawing out of all Thor characters, of the people that we dealt with, so Volstagg, Ray Stevens got a picture of Volstagg. The Japanese actor, I think it was Japanese, who played Hogan, got his character, but not likenesses. And then for people that were, the hairdresser and the costume designer and stuff like that, I sent out, and Kenneth Branagh, I chose characters that Asgardians I thought were fun and drew them. And then I printed a little short thank you on the back to each of them. And then when I talked to Craig Kyle.
Oh, sure.
Is Craig Kyle a name you recognized?
Oh, yeah, Carolyn Yost.
I have a much slower retrieval system for things than I used to.
Oh, so he was your minder? Or
he was our sort of the supervisor.
That's terrific. That's great, man. No, I love Craig. I
got that right. Anyway, because I explained what I wanted to do. And I said I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how can I get these to all the actors and everybody. And he said, tell you what, I'll give you my address. They were leaving about the time we left, right after we were gone. They were leaving to go to the Southwest to film the Earth stuff.
Yeah.
And so he was going to be gone for 3 months or whatever it was going to take. He said, send this to my home. I'll tell my wife to expect it. She'll put it aside. And when I get home, I'll see to it. Everybody gets their drawing. I said, great. So I mailed it out, and presumably 3 months later, they all got their drawings. And I whisked out of 35 drawings. I got 4 thank yous. I did not do it to get thank yous. If you're watching this and you were part of the crew, I'm not, the guys we dealt with, I am not castigating you. We were thrilled to be there. But the 4 people I got it, there was one or two of the PAs, and there was a writer on set, young guy, who was typing. It would need, it's like I am now. I'm sitting with my computer on my laptop. He was sitting in the school with a computer and the laptop, and they'd run over and say, "Well, you knew the line for this," and he would type, and then, okay, fine. They would go take that, and don't remember his name. Very sweet. He apparently had used to write The Simpsons, and he died a couple of years after we were out there.
Wow.
Young. I think he had cancer.
Was it Sam Solomon? Because he was a Simpsons
maybe
writer
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But he was kind of the last writer on the set because he was on the set typing up lines as they needed them.
Okay.
And I remember him especially because he did die not long after we were there. And the fourth guy I got an email from thanking me was Kenneth Branagh. So clearly he was brought up well by his parents.
Clearly. That's awesome. That's fantastic, man. That's beautiful.
It was nice. It was, well, they were, as I said, they couldn't have been nicer. And we do think that Wheezy was invited, possibly, because they knew I wouldn't go out on my own. I don't like flying. And I will say, being in the movie, I don't, like I said, we haven't seen many of the Marvel movies. Not that big a deal to me anyway. I mean, I'm thrilled to be in it. I'm delighted they invited me.
Yeah, that's awesome. They
invited Wheezy. And from Wheezy's point of view, there was no way we were not going.
That's right.
I don't blame you.
So it worked.
So here, this is very nice. Dina Burnett, Walt Wheezy, you two are so delightful. Thanks for keeping us entertained with your chronicles of cable woes. Here's hoping you manage to get reliable service.
Oh.
Stay safe.
Well, it's been pretty good for a while now, I will say. I grouse on Facebook about stuff I feel needs grousing about occasionally. Partly because I hope it gets back to the companies I'm grousing about, so they'll know that not everyone is pleased with what. But I will say that of late, the cable's been just fine.
That's good, Walter. I got to thank you for telling me how much you were enjoying Ace Atkins' Spencer novels, because I'm a Parker fan as well, and I wouldn't have done it. And I had said, I don't know if I can read the new stuff, and you're like, it's really good, and I trust your taste. So I thought that was pretty cool. And Louise, someone was asking what you listen to or read in terms of that helps you write. And I would imagine more it's listening. Here, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to scroll back and find the question.
No worries.
But essentially, they want to know what influences your writing in whatever ways.
Oh gosh. Who knows?
Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll read a book on how to write stuff, and mostly they say the same things that other books have said. So I guess that's not. I think every writer has their own way of coming at a story, and my way is character. I usually get at stories through characters. Although, interestingly enough, I'm doing an X Factor two-parter.
Great.
That fits into the continuity of the old X Factor. And that one actually came to me through, I guess it was the Chris Claremont method, which is Chris would get an image in his head. And that's where his stories came from. It was like some strong visual image. And this one came to me with a strong visual image before I got character involvement at all. But once I had the image, then of course the character involvement followed. And the image was actually based on the character involvement. And I probably can't say any more than that. I don't know what Marvel allows me to say.
I just would add that Wheezy is the voluminous reader.
Oh yeah, I read stuff all the time.
She reads a ton of. A lot of it she listens to. She does a lot of stuff out of books on tape or books on numbers or digital or whatever they're called these days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
She reads way more than I do these days. I still read, but I don't read as much as I need to or I should. Some of the reading I'll do will be related to whatever I'm writing. When I was writing Thor, I did a lot of reading of kind of related northern tales, Norwegian folk tales. I can't pronounce their names. Mo and Aberd, something like that. Some Norwegian guy will give me a hard time for that. I'm sorry, but they're folk tales. Stuff out of the Kalevala. There was a woman named Catherine Briggs. I don't know if she's still alive, but she had several books on Celtic fairy tales and fairy tales out of England and Scotland. I read some of that. Malekith the Accursed. That name actually came. There's a story in which involves a little girl called Malakin. I've forgotten the story now, but I came across the name in one of her books, and I liked it. I liked Mal because Mal means ill or bad.
Yeah, bad. Yeah.
And so I thought that was a good start for a name. And I didn't want to use her name, so I just made it Kith. I don't know. I don't know if I was thinking about Kith and Kin. I'm not sure, but that was where the name came from that reading. So mine tends to be kind of more focused in that way. But Wheezy is just she reads a lot of stuff.
I think I tend to read more for fun, and I don't know if it actually influences. I mean, I'm sure everything I read influences what I do. I just don't know how. I'm not as analytical about that stuff as a lot of people are. I just listen, and it comes out in any old way.
Are you able to listen to music while you write, like even just instrumental, or just kind of stark? Pardon me, just kind of stark in front of the keyboard. Don't like having any kind of distracting sound at all going on. If Walter listens to music a lot.
I listen to a lot of music. And if I'm writing, I'll listen to classical music or something that doesn't have words in it.
Certainly, agreed.
Some new agey stuff. If I'm drawing, there's a baseball game being played. I'll have the baseball game on beyond my desk, but you can always go back and look at the replay if you missed in your drawing. Or I'll have music and a variety. Mostly all the stuff old guys like me like. That's what I've got. I have my old rock and roll collection, bunch of classical music. I'm not so much a jazz guy, a little bit here and there, but not as much. I'll play a lot of music over the course of the day.
That's funny. I do listen to jazz instrumental when I write. That's my thing.
I like John Coltrane.
Sure.
When I knew a guy in college who was a gigantic Coltrane fan, more than I will ever be, but he used to play Afro Blue on the college radio station at like 3 a.m. And I would hang out with Mark sometimes at the radio station, so I got to hear that. So I hear it now, and I think of those days. But,
Yeah.
I'm an old Poco fan, an old Tom Rush fan.
Poco, fantastic,
an old CLI fan, and a bunch of others.
That's awesome, man. That's fantastic. People wanted to know, and forgive us because we don't want to get into your financial business, but when Marvel, or I should say, when Marvel Television or film or the CW certainly has been exploring a lot of DC heroes and villains. Have they used Louise? Have they used any of your characters on any of the television shows?
I know they did in some of the animated stuff. I don't know about the live action. I just don't pay attention to it.
Okay.
So in fairness, Marvel actually did well by me for the Thor movie.
That's great to hear.
So
I'm going to disappear for a second. I'll be right back.
Oh, by all means, Louise, and I'm so sorry. I don't mean to keep you guys so long. So I appreciate it.
No, just keep talking. Walter loves to talk.
All right, all right, no problem. Here we go. We'll just we'll let Louise have her moment of privacy.
I'm read well by Wheezy and Power Pack. And then other stuff, it's hard to tell because the Marvel checks, more than DC checks, come in with a series of oddball numbers next to the money. And I have no idea what those are. So you're just thinking, oh, the God, they're getting paid me what I'm supposed to be getting. There's just no way to tell. The DC stuff, at least, it'll say all these different comics that you're getting paid for. And if it's digital, then you're getting a couple of cents. Digital rates are a lot lower than rates in regular comics. And as Wheezy noted a couple of days ago, one thing about that's interesting is for the digital stuff, at this point, DC or Marvel has to make no investment to put that stuff up online and sell it. They don't have to have the art done. They don't have to have it colored. Well, they have to have it maybe recolored to bring the dot screens down to what can be on a computer. But there'll be a lot less overhead on that. So I'm thinking we should probably be paying more for that. But I don't really have any idea how much money they make or how that works out. So, but as far as the movies were concerned, I have no gripes whatsoever.
That's great to hear, man, because honestly, for the last 15 years that these movies have been happening, sometimes they get different stories and the correct artist or writer isn't credited for the creation. Sometimes I think that happened more on the TV side with DC, but I do know that they're making an earnest effort and that when somebody like a Jerry Conway steps up and says, "Yeah, that was one of mine," and it's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're sorry." Jerry Ordway's told me the same thing, and that's good. Even poor Marty Pasco, who we obviously lost this spring.
Yeah.
I was glad that they were helping him out and stuff. So
also, sometimes I don't know if they still draw these lines. For example, a few years ago, probably in the Batman animated TV, the Batman animated show, whatever was on at the time, they did a short, or a half-an-hour version of Manhunter, the Manhunter that Archie and I did. Ivan Cohen wrote it, did a really nice job with the screenplay or teleplay, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And but they didn't use my costume; they used the Kirby costume. I would imagine animating the sleeves that I gave Manhunter would have been a challenge. And so the Manhunter that they did was much simpler to animate. And I don't know that I got anything out of that. The way it used to work, and it may still, if you do a character like Manhunter, DC already owns that name. So if I'm doing a new Manhunter, it still isn't a new name on the character. So you wouldn't get anything out of that. Okay. And if they make a movie that includes, let's say it includes Manhunter, let's say they do a Manhunter movie. If they were paying for Manhunter, probably some other character would be a better example. But if the character's name isn't in the title, they're not obligated to pay you anything. So in theory, if they put Beta Ray Bill in a movie, but his name isn't in the title, I'll be waiting for him on that. But I don't know if that's still the way it works. That was the way it worked some years ago. That was how they parsed it, and I don't know now if that's still true. But I will say on the Thor stuff that I created, including Beta Ray Bill, I use Bill as an example because he's not in the title. Yeah. Including Beta Ray Bill, I did just fine. So good. I have no complaints about that. But I use Bill as an example, but again, bad example. I was paid, but they did actually parse it like that at a time. Nowadays, I don't know.
Understood, and yeah, I mean, again, you heard different things from both DC and Marvel, or I guess I should say Warner's and Disney. And I know for the Nolan Batman movies, talking to Neil Adams and Jeff Loeb and various people like Chuck Dixon, even little aspects of they used my Batcave, so I did get a little bit of money and various things like that.
DC is really good about that. Yeah. I have to say they're, I think, a lot more likely to give you royalties on stuff.
Yeah.
And including international appearances.
That's great.
That's right. Marvel, I don't know about now. I don't think they do. Has never paid on overseas royalties.
Wow.
I know for certain that my entire run of Thor has been printed at least 3 times in its entirety in Spain, for which I've gotten.
Damn.
But, look, when I got into comics, I knew the job was dangerous. It's not like I'm suddenly going, oh my gosh, I haven't been paid for this stuff. It's like, the job is dangerous to start with. If you don't want to risk the danger, don't take the job. Do what Will Eisner did. Create your own character, publish your own stuff, get out there and do your own thing. The companies are better about paying you some of that stuff now for having created it, but it wasn't always like that, obviously. And there are still gaps in the payment system as far as I can tell. But again, if you don't like it, don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, when I started off in comics, me and Howard and Bernie and all the guys that were over about a 4 or 5 year period, 67 to 72 roughly, we pretty much had these discussions of long nights over the, shooting the breeze over a bowl of popcorn, that comics was a dying art. And we all thought comics as an industry was going to be dead in 10 years. At that time, the direct market hadn't yet begun. Comic sales were dropping every month. You could see the sales going down a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. The percentage of the total print run was going down, the sales. But we all loved comics. And we loved them. We said, so the industry dies in 10 years. I'm going to do comics right now while I can do them. And when the industry dies, I'm going to go find a real job. But right now, it's still alive. Even if it's dying, let's do it. And so really, that's pretty much what we all did. That was the understanding a lot of us had about where the business was going and what was going to happen to it. The direct market changed that at the time radically. And I don't have any idea what the post-COVID world of comic books is going to look like. Not a clue.
I like Louise's instincts. Please, I'm sorry, Walter.
But I was going to say, but comics, it lasted a great deal longer than any of us ever would have believed. And really, for all that I might grouse about this or that, I've loved telling stories. I've loved doing drawings. And I really, I'm not fit for much else. So it's actually worked out really well. It worked out very well for us. And we've been phenomenally lucky in a lot of ways. We've been very lucky in our careers. In our timing, we got to come through comics when you could be given a book like Thor, and you could be given free reign. That's the only book I ever had. Even later, it wasn't like that in the FF, where you said, okay, do whatever you want. If the book dies, it dies. I mean, it wasn't doing that well at the time. So it was a great opportunity, because if the book had died, they've said, well, this book wasn't doing very well, so we'll hire Walter for something else. And if it does well, they'll say, boy, that Simonson guy, what a genius. So I'm not sure they said what a genius, but it did do pretty well. And it worked out well for me. But that was at a time when you could, as I've said elsewhere, creativity in comics was kind of from the bottom up. You got editors who guided you or who had input, but in that period, at Marvel especially, in that period, I don't know about DC so much. I wasn't working at the time so much of anything. But the creativity was really bottom up. You could take on books, and you could go where you wanted to go with them. And it was really exciting. And within 10, 15 years, mid-90s, somewhere in there, and thereafter, when crossovers came in and began becoming really important as a source of income for comics, the companies began instituting strict editorial control over the books. And you'd be told, okay, this month you're doing a crossover with whatever it happens to be, some giant crossover. And those kind of gotten bigger and bigger, and as far for my money, more and more unwieldy over time, and really clunky. Yeah. But it's not the same as it was when Louise and I really were able to do what we wanted to do in the books that we were writing and drawing. So we came through at a great time.
Mm-hmm. And then they paid us more because we got royalties.
They did.
I mean,
much better royalties back then.
We're so lucky.
Yep. We were able to sock some of that away.
That's outstanding.
And whenever we retire, hopefully we'll be in good shape. See me again later to see how that works out.
I understand. No. We honestly thank you for all the years of great storytelling, both of you. And really, I'm embarrassed that the conversation has gone as long as it has. And Walter is used to my well, seriously, because I feel bad, Louise, for you, because honestly, like, this is our first talk, and I try to keep it within.
You actually did great, and you moved things along, and
you're very nice. You did fine. Were there any, before we're out of here, were there any questions that anybody had that we didn't answer that we could give an answer to quick?
Mostly these were like really like lovely, like people saying nice things. I'm scrolling.
That's nice of them.
Oh, I see one. I didn't realize until about 2/3 of the way through, you can actually see the questions.
Yeah.
I didn't have the right button.
Oh, I can't. How did you do that?
Well, over on the right of your screen, at the top, it says private chat and it says comments.
Yeah.
When you click on comments, you'll get the comments scroll up.
No kidding.
Somebody said, fun question. Have you guys been to Hawaii? If yes, what did you guys like about the island?
Yes, Jason wants to know.
We were there in 1999, I think, at a Creation Con. And we stayed for an extra week. Pretty much, we liked everything.
Yeah,
we liked that there were no bugs. We liked the fact we walked into the hotel. It was a long flight. We flew to LA, had a brief layover, and flew into Hawaii. So we got there at 4 in the afternoon. I don't know what the hell time it was for us body-wise. It was some ridiculous hour of the morning or the night. And I still remember walking into the hotel and looking around in the atrium and going, oh, my God, there are no doors getting into the hotel because there are no bugs. And the temperature goes from here to here. It's like, they might have other doors hidden away. I don't know. But it was a whole different universe. But it was very great. It was really, again, the convention was fun. And we drove around. We spent some time on Oahu. We spent some time on the Big Island.
Yeah.
I don't know if we went to a third island or not. I can't remember now. But we drove all around the Big Island. We drove up to what's the volcano?
Kilauea.
What's that? Not Kilauea.
Diamond Head?
No. This is it's Mauna Loa and
Kilauea.
And I think it's in Kilauea, the live volcano.
Oh,
whatever it was. It's the one they have the.
Oh, you mean the one that we went up to the very top of the?
They have an observatory on it, and you can go up. We didn't go to the observatory, but you can go up. We discovered you're high enough, so our bag of potato chips, a little bag of potato chips, and by the time we got to the top, it was like a balloon.
Oh, wow.
It didn't explode, but the air pressure inside was the sea level air pressure. And it went out and was high enough. There was enough less there that our bag of chips was really large. So, but no more chips in it. But we had a great time. It was just again, fans were great. It was just lovely. Grew up around Oahu. Scenery was great. I can see, if you're young living there, it's not a very big arena. It might be great to retire to, but if you're working there or if you're a kid and you want to spread your wings, it might be hard to be there and do that.
I think a lot of the kids wanted to go to the mainland just because it's...
And we could see why. We can understand. But for 2 weeks there, man, it was just fantastic. So, and what were the nuts that were in everything?
Macadamia?
Macadamia nuts. There were macadamia nuts everywhere.
I'm a big fan.
We would eat outdoors, and small birds would come over and want some of our food.
Jason, who asked you about Hawaii, he's a great guy, and he has sent me a lot of gift bags of Kona coffee and macadamia nuts.
Aloha, Jason.
Indeed, he's a really great fan. And here, not obviously the Gore Vidal. He uses the pseudonym of Gore Vidal. I was going to say, Gore Vidal likes our talk so much, he's come back from the dead to ask the question.
I think I can say without reservation that your comics, Louise and Walter, enrich the comics medium and added a new maturity to the superhero genre. Agreed.
Well,
absolutely. And Henry wanted to know what it was like, Walt, to be inked by Tony DeZuniga. Did you try and draw? And also, there's a couple questions he's got. Also,
I see that. I see the question. Yeah. The short answer to that is, in a way, I did. At that time, this was not true everywhere, but at that time in comics, there was a kind of a house look to stuff, which was mostly second or third or fourth hand Jack Kirby or John Buscema.
Yes, sir.
And my own feeling was that I didn't want to make a large visual break from the previous run on comics. The previous run before me was Tony inking finishes of John Buscema. And at that time, I was doing more finishes than I was, layouts than I was tight pencils. I wanted to teach myself how to make storytelling decisions, what pictures to show, what the compositions were, what information I was transmitting, panel to panel to panel. And I wanted to do that faster than I've been able to do that at that point. So when I took over, I did the first 3 issues of the Rampaging Hulk. The finishes were by Alfredo Alcala. And when I took off that and did Thor, wow. I did it for 12 issues for a year. Len Wein wrote it, and I wanted it to some extent to look not like a big jump from the work that John Buscema had done on it. Now, I do not kid myself that I draw as well as John Buscema, not even remotely. But layouts like that, I looked at a lot of John stuff. I tried to kind of make compositions a little like John. I got away from that toward the end of my run. It didn't need to be quite like that. But especially in the first issue, I was trying to do, first couple of issues, sort of a John Buscema look, just in layout form. So when Tony would ink it, it wouldn't feel like an abrupt change from the preceding issue. I will say my attitudes had changed by the time I did Thor 337. And when I began drawing that, I wasn't trying to look like whoever the heck came in front of me. Bill Sienkiewicz did an issue or two. I don't know who did 336. There were a bunch of different artists and different fill-ins. So I just did my own stuff, went my own way, and if there was a break between the issues, too bad. But your question is actually very perceptive. I did try and do that. And really, because it was finishes, I mean, I've had people come to me and grouse. I had one on the web recently. This doesn't look like your stuff. Tony really changed your work and blah, blah. And I said, no, he didn't really. I mean, he did finish it. I just did layouts. Layouts essentially are contour drawings of the composition, figures, backgrounds, but there's no blacks, really. There's no rendering. And it varies as the layout artist. John's layouts, where it was all there, but it was very loose. I would have been petrified to have tried to finish one of John's layouts, whereas Tony did a great job. And on my stuff, I tried to get the whole composition. I did some stuff like that in the very beginning of my career for Wally Wood, when Woody inked a couple of issues of Hercules Unbound that I drew.
Wow.
And I tried to give him, those were tighter layouts than I would do later. because I wanted to give Woody. It was Woody. I was trying to really give him what he needed, and he did. He was very happy with them. Apparently, we talked about it once. He was very pleased with the layouts. But I ended up on those stores. Tony really, he was the guy providing the final look on the work, and my feeling at that time, and it would still be true, on any comic, it's so much teamwork. I mean, if one guy's doing all the finishes, obviously that's not so true. But if you're doing teamwork on the book, all I'm really concerned about is that the book will look good when you're done. I don't care if it looks like me. I don't care if it looks like Tony. I just want it to look like a professional comic book by the time we're finished.
That's cool.
I thought that's the way it came out. So that was a very long, boring answer to your question. Sorry.
No, and forgive me real fast because I am interested. I've never talked to an artist that worked on the Marvel Black and White magazines. And Henry wanted to know if you had to change your style. And I didn't even realize. I read those Rampaging Hulk magazines. And again, especially those black and white ones.
I was the first guy in that book.
I didn't realize.
So it wasn't like I was coming off some other book. And by that time, there had been a lot of artists in the Hulk. I mean, Bill Everett, for God's sake. And John Romita, Gil Kane. There were plenty of artists in that book and plenty of different looks.
Okay.
And so in doing layouts for it, I was just trying to draw. If I drew any inspiration, probably from Jack Kirby's original issues, probably from those first 6 issues that he drew, or he drew 5 of them. Steve Ditko, I think, drew the 6th one. But the very early Hulks and the way those looked is kind of what I was trying to get a hold of for inspiration. But beyond that, no, I didn't try and make my drawing into someone else's stuff. I just tried to do the layouts that Alfredo would be able to take and turn into finished black and white work.
That's cool. Louise, everyone loved your comments on the Chris Claremont documentary, also, and Aseni as well. So were there any stories that you gave them that didn't make it to the final cut?
I haven't watched the documentary, so I don't know.
I haven't watched enough video.
I suppose they probably used anything that was of any import at all. I usually don't like watching myself on those things. It's like, oh God, no.
Well,
so I don't.
I'll tell you,
you're good in them.
Yeah, well, honestly, and another truly thank you for your contribution to Maria Carbonaro's Jeff Jones documentary. Yeah, I met her first, then I got to see the movie, and man, it is so great to see all the photographs of all of you back, during the studio period. Sure. And really, it's and especially, I'm a fly on the wall. I'm not a comic creator, but the Chicago cartoonist community has let me in, and it was so great just seeing those parties and just those great pictures of all of you having fun. And I know it was the same kind of vibe that I've been able to enjoy with my cartoonist friends over the last 15 years. So yeah, it was really it's great. It felt like a rock documentary in a lot of good ways. You know what I mean? Well, it was because you guys are, hey man, for real, and Walter as well. I mean, you truly, you creatives. I mean, we all as comic fans respect the art and know that it's a creative endeavor, and that you guys are really putting yourselves into these works. And we do. We all appreciate it, and that's why it was really fun. And I really felt Maria, as a filmmaker, kind of was able to set it like a good rock documentary.
Yeah, I think she was. That's another one that I haven't watched, but I understand that it was really pretty great. So I think that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I see one more quick question for Henry, which is about Gene Colan.
Yeah.
I wrote that I'm not heavily influenced by Gene. I loved his Iron Man, one of my 4 favorite old Marvel comics when I was reading Marvel, along with the FF Thor and Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And if I were to draw an Iron Man comic, it would be Gene's Iron Man from the old days. That's my favorite costume and my favorite version of that costume by different artists. So most of the costumes since then are, to me, more elaborate iterations of the Rococo version of that, early, simple medieval stuff. And I would, by the time it goes through the Baroque and all the rest of it. And I love that work. And if I'm drawing Iron Man, it's very much Gene's Iron Man in my own style. But figure work and stuff like that, I would love to be able to draw like that, some of that stuff, and use that kind of tonal work that Gene was just a master of. But I'm a linear guy that is beyond my capabilities.
I have an original Gene Colan commission blade on my walls. And mentioning Tony DeZuniga, you can't see it, it's off camera, but a great Jonah Hex that I got from him about 12 years ago. So yeah, I understand, and yeah, these are masters, and it's so funny, Walt, because you mentioned that Chris Cantwell, who just took over Iron Man, and the artist Cafu, they brought Tony back to that original design, and
Oh,
it's
did they
even
really?
and it's even in
Wow.
the story that he really wanted to get back to basics and have a non-techie suit. So it really is this mechanical, old-fashioned classic
Well,
suit,
one of
and
the
I
things
think yeah,
that Gene did with that suit, especially with the face, as simple as that face was, he imbued it with an astounding amount of emotion
indeed.
by tilting the eyes up, one little line sort of with the brow that looked when you're in that. And of course, back then, Tony was very tragic because he had a heart condition. He had a magic heart
That's right.
stuff to keep him alive.
Oh yeah.
He was in danger of dying any minute. Those days are long gone. But it was so expressive. And that's one thing about Gene's drawing itself was incredibly expressive. And he brought that to Iron Man in a way that, for a guy in an iron suit, fabulous. So it's one of the reasons I really enjoyed it. I have to go look at an issue of Iron Man now.
That's great stuff, man. And real fast, Scott wanted to know if you enjoy inking yourself, Walter.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, I don't have any reservations about that. I will say, whatever I'm doing, I wish I was doing something else. So when I'm penciling, I wish I were writing the damn thing. And when I'm inking, I wish I were drawing the damn thing. And when I'm, it's like, somehow I'd like to be doing something else when I'm stuck having to do whatever it is I'm doing. But I do like inking myself. I do like putting the lines down. I do like trying different things. I'll have a cover up in a day or so on my Facebook page. Drew Ford, who runs a small publishing company called It's Alive, has been reprinting a lot of Sam Glanzman's work.
Wow,
and I'm a big fan of Sam Glanzman.
Yeah.
And if you haven't read his USS Stevens stories, I cannot recommend them highly enough. Sam died a few years ago, old guy in his 90s. He was a sailor on a destroyer escort in the Pacific in World War II and did a ton of little 5-page stories about that experience and a couple of graphic novels. And they range from just the horrific and the terrifying to some really funny moments of life aboard the ship. And they've been collected in a couple of big books.
Yes.
So I would, all that stuff, which I'm thrilled that they were done. But Drew is now publishing Kona, Monarch of Monster Isle. And what that is that's a comic from the early 60s that was Sam Drew. I don't know who wrote it. And it's a guy, an older guy, and his widowed daughter, and their 2 kids, and a bunch of M1s lost on an island, or on a lost island that contains full of dinosaurs and cavemen. And the cavemen are Neanderthals and Pithecanthropuses. And the Tyrannosaurus rexes are the allies of the Pithecanthropuses, and the Triceratopses are the allies of the Neanderthals. And our heroes end up hanging out with the Neanderthals and teaching them how to use the guns to change the course of the war. It's guns, it's cavemen, it's dinosaurs, it's a lost island. How can I not love this book? So I'm doing a cover for the 4th issue of the reprint. There were about 23 issues. I don't know if Drew's reprinting all of them or even the whole batch, but in some form. But I'm getting to do this one cover. I put part of it up earlier. This ink has stopped for a while. Now I'm going back on it. I should finish it tomorrow. And I'm putting it up on my Facebook page. So that'll be up fresh at the top sometime tomorrow, I hope.
That sounds cool, and I know you're still working on Ragnarok too, right?
I am, although right now I keep doing these other covers for people. So
okay.
I am writing Ragnarok. I'm writing the 4th story arc at the moment, and I have a pretty good opening for it. And I know where I want to go, but I haven't figured out how to make the ending work yet, so I'm still working on that. I will say, this is not really a secret, Thor goes to Jotunheim. So he goes off to face the Frost Giants. And that's the next story arc.
That's exciting. Fantastic. Louise, tell us again the miniseries that's now collected that you just did recently.
Oh, Hyperbreed.
Hyperbreed.
Talking about the Storm King one. Yeah, it's a science fiction. Well, it's more like space opera, really.
Great.
So it looks really good. The color looks good. So the art looks good. Guy Dorian drew it. So, and it'll, apparently it sold really well. This is what I don't know what that means.
Who put it out?
In a modern context.
Yeah. Who put it out? Which publisher?
Oh, it's Storm King, Sandy Carpenter's company.
Okay.
Sandy
we'll look
King
for that.
Carpenter is John Carpenter's wife.
Yes,
And
yes.
has her own line of horror comics
Right.
produced by Stone King.
She and John do a horror line. It's kind of a horror comic. It's really more space opera. And it's in their kids line, although I'm not sure, it was originally done for the grown-up line, but I guess it didn't have enough sex and violence and apparently well, it has a lot of violence, actually. I'm surprised.
A fair amount of violence.
Are you sure? Are you sure we can actually do this in a kid's comic? And they're saying, oh, yeah, so whatever. Anyway, I hope no children are scarred by this.
You're going to be up before Congress in a couple of years, Sugar.
Exactly. I probably get Ethiopian chains.
Corrupting our youth. Shame on you.
Oddly, I was actually surprised that it sold well, considering we're in the middle of COVID, but it did apparently. So that's cool.
That's awesome, and we'll see when Wonder Woman 84 comes out.
Yeah.
And guys, seriously, you're lovely to spend 2 hours with me. This is and the viewers, and truly, I genuinely appreciate it. Again, if you didn't get enough of Walt and Louise, they are coming back and doing Baltimore Comic-Con. Walter is going to be part of this great 1985 conversation, again, with Dean Haspiel, talking to Walter, Dennis Cowan, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Howard Chaykin. That's happening on Friday night. And I believe our talk, and Louise, I know I sent you confirmation of day and date. I know it's either Saturday or Sunday afternoon.
I think it was Saturday.
I think you're right.
But
true, and that's
double check your schedule, everybody.
Yes, check and go to.
Anyway,
I don't give the website out enough. BaltimoreComicConLive.com is specifically for our online event.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, we're the guys at Mainframe, and I'm part of that group that cultivated all these panels. We're really pleased with the programming that we got,
Good.
and we're thrilled that you're both going to be part of it. So,
and two last quick answers. Henry, dirt on Byrne and Claremont? We have none. We have no dirt on Byrne and Claremont. And Sean, yes, I did give dinosaurs feathers when I was doing the Fantastic Four. At least a feathered crest and maybe a few more besides. I have no idea where I got that from, but it's one of the first examples as far as I know in comics. So there we go.
There you go. All right. And we're going to stop it there.
Thank you, everybody, for all your questions. Thanks for stopping by.
And if you have more questions, again, they're going to be there for you next weekend.
We'll be back.
Weekend. And you can ask them then. So truly, guys, thank you very much for your time tonight. Be well.
It was our pleasure, John. You take care.
You too, guys.
Be safe, everybody.
There you go. There you go, Walter and Louise Simonson. Their panels start tonight. Walter, part of the great 1985 In the Studio panel that Dean Haspiel is hosting. He'll be talking to Walter, Howard Chaykin, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Dennis Cowan. It's going to be a great conversation. And then look forward to Louise's Spotlight panel Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m., moderated by Christy Blanche of Oh Yeah Comics Muncie, one of the smartest retailers I know and a great moderator at conventions. Cannot wait for their one-on-one conversation. And so many other great panels happening this weekend at Baltimore Comic-Con, courtesy of me and the guys at Mainframe Comic-Con. Thanks a lot for listening to Word Balloon. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2020. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.